I actually think a cozy room is really cute. You know, it's all like, you get all like snuggy and warm. So I should stop pretending to be advocating for something that I myself don't do. Hey there, my handsome and pretty little Cobras, and welcome back to the Cobras Nest. For those who are here new, my name is Mignon Cobra and I make minimalism videos. Today's minimalism video is going to be another versus video, and that's going to be 5 differences between extreme minimalism and practical minimalism. So without further ado, let's just get to the video. Let's go. Woo. So before we get started, as usual, if you wish to help out my channel, you can consider checking out the Patreon link down below. I make monthly vlogs for the behind the scenes for my hardcore fans, if that's something you'd like to see. And if that's of no interest to you, no worries. You can just help me out with the algorithm by giving this video a thumbs up, a like, and a subscribe for the algorithm. Okay, so a little bit of preface before we get started. Who am I to be talking about these things? So I have been both. I have been both an extreme minimalist and a practical minimalist. And I think right now I'm somewhere in the middle. I think I'm kind of like not quite as practical as I used to be, but not quite as extreme as I used to be. I made another one of these videos which was like essential minimalism versus just like, I think regular essentialism versus minimalism. So I'm gonna have a little bit of fun and talk about what I think are the differences between extreme minimalism and just practical minimalism. Okay, so let's talk about extreme minimalism first, and then we'll talk about practical minimalism. Okay, so number 1, a uniform versus a capsule. So I think that extreme minimalists have a uniform in the sense that they probably have similar items in maybe different colors, or the reverse, the same item in duplicates, so that they have a uniform. And I think a practical minimalist just has way more than that, maybe like 30 plus items in the form of a capsule. I think if you have more than that, I don't feel like that's quite as minimalistic. Then I just think you just have a regular wardrobe. Maybe you can have a curated wardrobe, but I think a capsule wardrobe is more in line with a practical minimalist idea, that maybe you have a couple shirts, they all match well with a couple pants. And I think an extreme minimalist might only have literally one outfit, if that's like the extreme. I think that's in the realm of essentialism. I think extreme minimalists, if they're still minimalists, might have a couple shirts, because we're not talking about essentialists. That's the extreme version of extreme minimalism. Okay, so the next one is number 2, the no duplicate rule. So I think that extreme minimalists follow this idea of no duplicates. They usually, as if I'm not one anymore. I'll say we. So when I was an extreme minimalist, there's this idea that there's a no duplicate rule. So you really don't need 2 spoons. If you have 1 spoon, you can just wash it. You don't need multiple pairs of underwear. You can just wear it. Maybe you only need like 1 or 2. And then while you're wearing one, you wash the other one at night. I'm not talking about how practical that is. I'm just explaining the thought process behind the no duplicate rule. And then I think for practical minimalism is this idea that you have different types of duplicates. Like some things have some overlap, but one item serves a slightly different function that another item might not quite. An example of this would be like bags. A practical minimalist might have like 2 or 3 bags because like a little purse is not as convenient as their mountain climbing bag. But an extreme minimalist might just think, I really don't care about social norms. My mountain bag is my every bag. It's my grocery bag, my go to weddings bag, my like, I don't know, go swimming with bag. Like this is the bag. So there's that kind of slight dichotomy. Okay, number 3, nutrition. So for extreme minimalists, they eat for nutrition, as I've kind of seen. And when I was an extreme minimalist, I only ate foods out of the category that they had, like what vitamins they had, what was the protein, what was the macronutrient, like how many like calories does it give me. Like when I was an extreme minimalist, this is how I viewed food. I just strictly saw it from a nutritional standpoint. Like I'm not going to eat gluten because it causes celiac disease, and just like a bunch of, I don't know, even some misinformed ideologies. But like I would eat pumpkin because pumpkin is, you know, high in potassium, which is just it's just something that I myself experienced, and something that I found that was a common trope. A lot of extreme minimalists also advocate for veganism, you know, like don't eat animal products. It's just something that I happen to have noticed in the community. When I became more of a practical minimalist, I kind of saw that they're a bit more relaxed in kind of their food process viewing. They kind of see like food can be eaten for pleasure, which I found was not as common in the idea of extreme minimalism. Practical minimalists are a little bit more like, don't eat a lot, eat in moderation, but you still deserve to have space to have food that's pleasurable to eat. Like I found there was more room for like junk as a practical minimalist. Okay, number 4, rooming. So for extreme minimalists, I found that an empty room, or as close to an empty room as possible, was a common trope. That's actually one aesthetic that I still do like to this day. If you guys can see from my room, I actually did end up liking that aesthetic, that I actually ended up keeping it. I don't have any decor. I barely have any furniture besides like a table and like a bed. I like it. But what I'm trying to say is I think that that's a common trope in extreme minimalism. On the flip side, for practical minimalism, I think there's more inclination to kind of like what's considered the cozy minimalism. You know, maybe having little pieces here and there that make your home very cozy and very comfy and an enjoyable place to live. Because I do think that it's a bit stoic on the side of extreme minimalism in a very empty room. Like, unless you actually truly genuinely like that aesthetic, I don't recommend it. And I want to preface or disclaimer something. I grew up in welfare, and I think my dad is kind of an extreme minimalist, whether out of choice or because of financial circumstances. We did we did live in an apartment that was completely empty. I remember our apartments always echoed, and I remember when our classmates would come over, they'd be like, wow, like your house is so clean, there's like nothing here, you guys must be rich. So I kind of do understand where there is that association with minimalism being a privilege of the rich, that they have these massive places that just echo and it's empty and there's nothing. But the flip side, there's people who just have so little that it looks like that it's like they're copying each other. Like, where does the fun mirrors end, right? So I think that the reason that I like that extreme sense of like an empty room is because I grew up with that. Like, I'm accustomed to me, it feels like home because that's what I grew up with. But I think that if you grew up in a lot of clutter, this extreme side of minimalism might probably drive you crazy, and I don't recommend it. Just because I enjoy it and because of my extreme living and upbringing, I enjoy it. I don't recommend it for everybody. I actually think a cozy room is really cute. You know, it's all like, you get all like snuggy and warm. So I should stop pretending to be advocating for something that I myself don't do. If you like a cozy home, I totally get the vibe. Okay, number 5, it's about the essentials versus a little bit more frill and a little bit extra amount. So for extreme minimalism, I found that it's kind of a little bit overlapping with essentialism, which is that you should have things still, but they should be very useful. Like, you really don't have space for anything frivolous. Everything needs to be more utilitarian, which I think is fine. I think like that's cool. It's just another tool and thought process that you can use to kind of like better your life. Like, if that betters your life, totally go for it. On the flip side, I kind of noticed that with more practical minimalists, they have a little bit more room for a little bit more fun and a little bit more frill and a little bit more stuff. And I saw this version of minimalism, Korean minimalism, a lot of them have a lot more cozy, comfy, cute things that I think that even the Swedish minimalism didn't quite fulfill, or even the Japanese minimalism. I think Swedish minimalism and Japanese minimalism fall more on the end of extreme minimalism. Whereas I think that Koreans have a more cozy vibe. They kind of go for that European kind of beigey, warm, cozy, like wooden, warm kind of vibe that was new to me. I'd never seen before. I was like, whoa, like they have so many plates, and all the plates are white, and they have so many cute little cutleries that are made of wood, and like they're making like little cheeses and putting it on toast, and it's just so freaking cute. And it made me realize that you could still have a minimalism type of aesthetic that doesn't have to be so stoic or so like sterile as the extreme minimalists would have it. So yeah, I hope that this video was kind of entertaining and fun for you. I'm sure that we all have some overlap. I think there are areas in our life where we're more extreme and more practical than others. I don't think things are black and white. So comment down below which extreme you think you fit on in the minimalism spectrum. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye. Or I guess talk about them as we kind of go through it. Okay, so number 1,